Hi, everybody, and welcome to NA Lit Chat. I'm Amy Evans. It's Thursday, June 11th, 2015. It is good to be back on the air with everybody tonight. I'm here with EJ Wesley and Lindsay Lewis, OK Lewis, and we are going to talk tonight all about writers' conferences and what you can do to get the most out of them. If you guys have been longtime listeners, you'll know that this is a subject that comes up about once a year because around springtime, everybody gets going to conferences all over the country. There's RT, there's RWA, and there's a conference that I'm going to for the fourth time this year called Utopia that happens next week. And I'm so excited because Lindsay and EJ are coming too this year.
Woo!
So not only do I get to meet them in person and basically squeeze them to death for 3 or 4 days, but I actually feel like I, could answer questions when they were asking them. And EJ last week was like, I have so many questions. We have to set up a call next week so I can ask them to you. And I was like, we should just make that the live hangout because I know you're not the only one, and I've seen lots of chatter online. And it's not like I have all the answers. By any stretch of the imagination, there are, the people who run that conference and people who have gone to a million conferences. So in Twitter, we want you guys to share all about what your good and bad and best conference tips and tricks are. And here we're going to be talking about the specifics of really how you can make the most out of your experience. So EJ, Lindsay, how are you guys tonight?
We're great.
I'm great. I'm doing well. I'm a little allergy swamped right now, so I apologize if I'm a little stuffy, but I'm back for one thing. I haven't been in a lit chat in a month, so.
And we've really, really missed you. I know. I think I speak for everyone when I say it's really not the same without you. We made it.
I agree.
Especially Simcoe, and I quote, I will read the tweet that he sent me earlier. Let's see here. He says, so excited that you weren't here. Oh, I mean, hey, dude. Thanks, Michael. I really appreciate it. I said, I feel like Norm at Cheers when he walks in. Yeah.
Like I said, we made it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's important to know that, you can go and do things if you want to. So, does anybody want to share good news with us? I don't know if...
We've got a little bit of stuff trickling. I'm a little upset. One of our frequent chatters, February Grace, has said that she's having to take a time out from her writing career, basically. She's had some health implications that have come up that she doesn't feel like she can continue doing it, and I'm sad to hear that, because like I said, February is she's a prolific tweeter and so involved in what we do, but I mean, she's just a great writer. Like, she has a ton of fans over on Wattpad, and so I know there are going to be a lot of people bummed out. She said her next novel will be her last novel for a while.
We love you, February. You're wonderful.
I know. And so,
first.
Yeah,
we wish you speedy recovery, definitely, and we hope that you, feel better soon and can get back to writing, and we will miss you.
And I think it's important to note that sometimes there's a difference between writing and publishing, and it's totally okay to say, I might be writing because I'm writing for myself, but that's so different than the business of publishing, which is such a big commitment, whether you're publishing on your own or publishing, traditionally or Wattpad. But when you have an audience and you have people who have expectations, it's important to meet them, but it can also be a lot of pressure. So sometimes just taking it for yourself is a whole different ballgame. So we hope you find time for and, attention for whatever brings you some comfort and peace while you're trying to get better.
Absolutely.
So we've got good news from Esti Bende. And she said that she's about halfway through the first draft of her third Aries saga, and she hopes to release all 3 by late 2015, early 2016. And that's very cool. It's another series set in the amazing world that she's created with her Oscar series.
Lindsay, will you share DA's good news? I'm trying to find your tweet, and it just got swallowed alive in my feed.
Ooh.
Sure. So I am pleased to announce one of our NA Lit Chat, our dear friend D.A. Bada, he was just sent a contract. I'm not going to mention the publishing company just because I don't know that he signed it and sent it back and that the deal is inked, but I do know for a fact that he's been sent a contract to have his next poetry collection, which is entitled Playing Mad. It's going to be published, and he deserves it, and it's great news, and we all love it when good things come our way and our friends' ways in the NA Lit Chat community. And it's a very, very great publishing company. I've read a lot of the poetry in this collection, and I'm very excited for everyone to get a chance to read it. So we'll keep you updated for when it's coming out and let you know, because everyone should pick it up because it's great. It's really, really amazing poetry, so everyone will enjoy.
That's so cool. I'm so excited for him. I was actually with S.J. Patronis today when he posted that. She was like, "Oh my God, did you see this?" I was like, "No, I'm sitting here talking to you. I'm not on my phone."
Bird.
He was like, I'm living in the now. Where are you?
I was like on Facebook on my computer. I just hadn't gotten into that post yet.
Yeah.
I have some weird news, which is that my husband found my super secret pen name book and liked it better.
I love that not only did he find it, but he liked it better than your other stuff.
I don't really know what to do about this.
We need to have like a whole chat over like outthinking ourselves, because I feel like that indie authors particularly, because we're all wearing, and I was going to mention that with February earlier, like it's so, as an indie author, like you are like the cover, the guru, like you have to approve all these things, you have to work with your editors, there's so many things that go on. It's very stressful, and I think as part of that, like a lot of us that maybe aren't used to wearing all those hats, like we do outthink ourselves an incredible amount.
Yes.
So I think it's hilarious that he liked it better.
Well, and also, kind of jumping off that, our own Alicia Kat Vancil, who is hanging out on Twitter with us tonight. Hey, Kat. She said her only good news is that she said, "I didn't rage and quit publishing today." And you know what? Some days when I know that she's on deadline. She's about to release her next book. And some days when you're like, I just want to be done with this. And the fact that you just keep moving, that makes it a good day. So good for you, Kat. And also I'm noticing JL Dogan. She said, "My good news, finished first draft of my most recent whip to last Friday. Started work on my comic this week." So plugging right along. Good job. That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for everything. I've been seeing Kat's cover iterations and all the stuff with this book, and it's so gorgeous. And she might think she's having problems with it, but to me, it just looks amazing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. She did a great job.
So I think we are all often hardest on ourselves, and that's the thing to remember. I think that I've accepted this week that I just have to spend some time this summer and learn Photoshop, because my ability to communicate with designers has gotten worse as I've gotten a little bit more experience and I know exactly what I want, and then I think I'm just annoying. So it would be really helpful if I could somehow, improve those skills, even though that's not, you want to spend your time writing. Sometimes that's a little bit of a release, and I like to play around in like Canva, but that's a little limiting. So I finally acknowledged that I need to if I want to bother, I either need to let it go completely and just say, I'm turning this off, I don't care. Not like I don't care, but I'm going to trust the system and, step back a few, or I'm going to learn how to do it so I'm not getting frustrated with what other people are trying to do on my behalf. So that was my frustration point today, but I think it, hopefully lands in a good place. So, EJ, when you sent me that email last week,
Which one? I don't know.
The one about, we have to have a conversation about Utopia because it's 2 weeks away. And
my panic hyperventilating, holy shit, this is happening email. Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
I've had one of those moments like twice a day, every day for the last month and a half, by the way. I'm like, oh god, I haven't done this yet.
I think it's totally, is this your first conference?
Yeah, this is it. Like, this is my first live. Okay. Like, I've never done really a live signing before, so I mean, I just jumped in this damn thing with both feet. So I think I'm happy now. We'll see after next week.
No, I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Utopia was my first con too, and it was the first year of Utopia. And I went with, let's see, I went knowing one person. I really wasn't even sure if there were going to be that many more people besides me and her there, and that's actually Janet Wallace, who's the founder, who I had known for years before the conference. And I was like, okay, well, I know Janet's going to be there, but even if there's only like 3 other people, she's going to be really busy. So I don't know who I'm going to talk to or who I'm going to hang out with or how this is going to work.
The good news is I've been a part of the writing community a long time, like nearly 10 years. I've known people like PK Rezo and some of those folks. I started through blogging like a lot of us did back in the day, and it's just kind of
It's amazing, right, when you think about...
Right, but so many of my great friends, like you and Lindsay and, all these people from NA Lit Chat that I've been able to meet over the years, like, so many of them are going to be there. So that's really is, I say, I'm trying to pretend I'm all brave, but this was easy. This was low-hanging fruit for me when I think you were the one that put the bug in my ear. You're like, hey, everybody should go to Utopia next year. And I was like, okay. And so... But like I said, I have so many of my really, really best writing friends that are going to this thing, so I don't feel like it's going to be that big of a fish out of water thing. But.
No, I think you're going to feel right at home, and I think the beauty of Utopia is that hopefully everybody who comes there feels right at home. I mean, the con has grown tremendously. What Janet has done with her team is incredible, and it's just, went from 80 people to like 300 people to 700 people, and I think they probably doubled that this year. And they've got, more attendees and more authors, and it's, come such a long way. It's so well organized, and I'm personally so excited because it's always a really good, always really inspiring. I think that they go out of their way to make sure that, everybody feels like they leave, hopefully everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a New York Times bestseller or, you're afraid to put those first words on paper and, admit that you want to write a book. Everybody leaves feeling like they can do whatever it is that they want to do, and everybody leaves feeling like their goals are attainable and that they have a community to help support them. And, that's kind of the whole reason to go. So if you just walk away with like a little bit of that, I think it's been a successful experience.
So here's and I'm just going to bring this up right up front. So Chris Fox just put in, hey Chris. He says, I feel like I should go to cons, but I have zero interest in being stuffed into a room with hundreds of strangers. So I think one of the major blocks I see from a lot of writers is a lot of us are extreme introverts. Like, we're very introverted people. We pick very introverted things to do with our time, with writing. What makes like something like Utopia, like what? Because I'm sure this happens every year. Like, you get somebody who kind of goes, they're introverted, they're like, I'm not going to have fun, I'm not going to have a good time. But they kind of fall into it. So what makes something like Utopia, as somebody that's been a few times, like what would we say to Chris to get him to be like, you know what, it may be different than what you think?
Well, what I would say to Chris is to pick a con that's the right size so that it's not going to overwhelm you. I've been to Utopia, I've been to BEA, I've been to RT, Romantic Times, the Book Expo, I've been to...
and some of those are huge. Like
they're all huge.
I was gonna say, people that aren't familiar, Romantic Times is ginormous, and Book Expo is ginormous. Like, these are huge cons.
Enormous. And Book Expo, I went a couple years. I found a couple friends. I had some meetings to attend, so like I had a focus. And then bonus, I wound up running into some people I hadn't seen in a long time, so it was exciting. SCBWI, which is the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, I went to really to like get my feet wet in publishing and to start learning that. I knew not a soul. It was so big. It was filled with people who all knew what they were doing and knew each other, and I just kind of hung back and absorbed. And I definitely met some people. I exchanged some business cards. I talked to whoever I was sitting next to. I really just tried to be like friendly, but I didn't have any expectations. And I think that is pretty helpful when you go to these things, to try not to have, you can go with like 2 or 3 goals. So I went and I was like, okay, I want to learn what I need to know to start like querying and submitting, and I want to learn about the industry. And I'd like to find, 2 or 3 agents to pitch to. And those were my goals, so I did both of those. Those are pretty cheap goals, all things being equal. Like, I was not like, I'm going to have 25 people ask for my book. I was not feeling, like I was gonna walk away having met every single person in publishing. And I am pretty extroverted most of the time, but it can be really intimidating. And so I would say to somebody like Chris to find a conference where you do shrink that room a little bit. And I think that some key things to look out for are, maybe it shouldn't just be a signing. Like, it's really cool. There are some conferences that have it'll be a signing like on Saturday, but on Friday it'll be some workshops and craft things, and that's a great way to get to know people without just having to walk up to them for no reason. It's totally different if you've sat in like a class or in a panel with somebody and you guys have listened to the same things and you're sitting next to each other and you just start chit-chatting. I mean,
right.
One of my biggest supporters ever is Rebecca Effington, and she and I were just sitting next to each other at Utopia that second year. And I don't think she really, she just was exceptionally friendly to me, and I didn't know her at all and she didn't know me, but we happened to be sitting next to each other, and she thought that I had some interesting thoughts on the panel and that I asked a good question and I thought she asked a good question. And it was kind of enough to just start a conversation. And like I said, we've stayed friends, we've kept in touch. She's been as lovely as can possibly be, just as a colleague and a supporter, and I'm so grateful that I met her that way. I don't know that I would have met her in the big room at Utopia, because even though it was only 300 people, it's just impossible to talk to everybody, and then sometimes you pick people to talk to and you're talking to them for 10 minutes, but you're never going to see them again, and that's kind of okay. It happens.
Well, and Becca on Twitter, actually, at Beccatron, said that as an INFP, Myers-Briggs stuff there for you, I have to admit that cons as an author are so hard, but smaller conferences are better. So she's just kind of echoing that same sentiment. So my question is this. So you started out as an attendee. You didn't start out as a vendor, or you didn't go to this first conference as an author. Would you recommend that? Would you recommend most, because I'm going to this, my first one right now, as an author guy. Would it have been better to go to one first as just a hangout person to kind of go to stuff, or what do you think on that? Or is something like Utopia small enough that it's not really going to make that huge of a difference?
Well, I think Utopia is set up specifically so that everybody's sort of on equal playing field. I think whether you're a reader or a blogger or an author, you're going to walk away feeling hey, I got to hang out with a bunch of other readers, authors, bloggers, basically a whole bunch of people who love books.
Right.
And you already have books out. You do have people that want to read them and that are going to want to say hi to you. So I think that you're doing exactly the right thing. I think what you've done, you were able to look at this and say, wow, I have a lot of friends. This is a great opportunity to learn some new stuff with people I've been looking forward to meeting, and maybe it's a little out of my comfort zone, but I feel like it's a safe way to be out of my comfort zone. It's a good size. It's not like RT in Dallas or
Right.
It's still going to be a challenge. But I think the answer to that is where are you and what are your goals? Because for me, my MO is usually just to dive into things and learn. And I'd written Clicks, and I knew enough about publishing tangentially to be dangerous. I had worked in the entertainment industry in a totally different capacity. And I'd worked in an agency that represented books, but I was nowhere near that department. So I knew little bits of information that filtered in the same way they would if you worked at Black & Decker, but you worked in a totally different division. You might know what the products are in another division, but that doesn't mean you understand how that industry works.
Right.
So I went really to educate myself, and that was my goal. But if I had been going to, I don't know, to try to sell a book, RT might have been a better bet first, because they do have pitch sessions. And I know, who is it? Dylan Quinn, who's one of our NALIT chatters. She went to a local, either RT or RWA conference that was a regional one, and it was still big, and they still had plenty of agents and publishers there for her to pitch to. And she went specifically to pitch to some people, and that was what she was looking to do. So there's just, I think it's everything else is really identifying what do you want from it. If you're all I want to do is go someplace that's kind of fun with other book people that's going to make me talk to them. Like, I think you might have a hard time because that's not quite specific enough. That's going to be, or at least for me, it would be challenging.
Right. Some people had mentioned that our audio is kind of out for a minute and it's going back in. If you're having trouble listening to it, Chris mentioned like reloading the page or whatever, so maybe that'll help.
I'm looking at everything on my end and nothing has
Yeah, I think
Every time. Yeah.
It seems fine on our end, guys, so I apologize for that greatly, but like I said, Chris mentioned just try reloading the page if it goes out, and that should help fix it. So.
Silly Google.
Chris says it keeps cutting out on our end. It seems like it's in a huge delay on our end. So
weird.
It may just be taking its time to... ST Benday's like, are you calling EJ Wesley slow? No, probably. I know.
Do you want me to relaunch? I mean, that's our only option. If you guys are all having a problem, I'm certainly happy to do that. That's no problem. You want to give it a couple more minutes and see?
Yeah, I'd say let's give it a couple of minutes and see if it irons out or whatever. Because, like I said, everything sounds good on our end. It's not delayed, so.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay, what made you decide to pull the trigger and go to Utopia? Is it going to be your first con? Or?
This is my first con ever, and I have to tell you, I am... If it was cool for adults to pee their pants with excitement, I would be doing that right now. It's kind of funny because, I know Chris Fox mentioned, EJ being an introvert and not being quite sure about being in a big room. I can be a very shy extrovert, so I'm very outgoing. People say, put me in a room with 1 million people, in 5 minutes they'll all be my best friends. And I love to meet new people, and I'm generally okay with going up to people, but then I also have these little phases where I'm very, very shy, and I'm very nervous that I might end up just being a fly on the wall. Poor EJ, you're totally stuck with me this week, buddy, because I'm going to be like, where are you going? I'm going to go there too.
Where are we having lunch? Where are we having lunch?
Totally.
I'm okay with
it. So really, honestly, we have this really great little group, our little Goonie group of writer buddies, and I really wanted to come and meet you all in person and really get my feet wet in, a conference, and I knew that with so many of you that I kind of feel like I already know, that this would be a great place to get my feet wet, because at least I would know people, and I could, say, like, okay, I'm feeling a little shy, like, what are you doing? What's your next panel? I'm not quite sure what to do now, or whatever. And that you guys would be like, come on, tag along, Linz. So I felt like this specifically, Utopia specifically, would be a really great one to kind of get my feet wet. And also, I would love to network more. I want to get to know people. I would like to get to know people that do so many different facets within our writing community, bloggers, that sort of stuff. I'm excited for a lot of the panels. A lot of them speak to me.
You're going to come to mine, right?
Of course. But, that's what it is. I'm not necessarily going to find an agent. I'm not necessarily going to find a great publishing house, this, that, or the other thing. I'm just going to kind of really see what a conference is all about. I'm going to be at Great Lakes Book Bash this October in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is just a great little 4-hour drive from me, so that's nice. With the added benefit that my sister lives right there, and so I get to see her. But this is just kind of, this is my first time having a table and learning the ins and outs, and I'm finding out just how much of a procrastinator I really am, and probably would have canceled if I didn't have EJ and DA in my life by now. But,
we're pushers.
No, it's great. I need it. I'm totally like Last Minute Linz is my new nickname that I dubbed for myself. So, yeah, I'm just going to network. I want to meet people face to face. I want to see what everything's all about, catch the excitement. People love this conference, so I'm excited about that. And that's just kind of what got me, gave me the nudge to go.
Well, and I think the key thing that like keeps coming to my mind, and just back to like Chris's question and general advice, I would not recommend going to like a big national conference as your first thing unless like you already have like a publishing deal and your publisher wants you to come there and like they're going to hold your hand.
Right.
Because I went to I went to RT and I knew a handful of people there, and I was on a panel, and I still felt like that girl that like didn't know anybody, and really didn't have anyone to talk to, and
Right.
it was okay because I had a lovely hotel room and got some work done and still learned a lot and still met a lot of people, but it was so big that I think had I been at a place that was like more like the regional conference, I would have been a lot happier. And the benefit of the regional conference is, you know, you may actually meet people that live pretty close to you, and then they can become like an even better kind of support system.
Well, and I think there's a distinction between like some of these are wheeling and dealing conferences. Like there are so many of the big conferences where if you're not a published author, then you're there trying to find an agent, and you're, you know, it's some of those types of things. And then there are craft-focused conferences.
Right.
Like I know we have a big one in San Francisco, the San Francisco's Writers Conference every year. That's a huge craft-focused conference where it's all workshops by, you know, really famous poets and authors. And I mean, yeah, there are agents there, but they don't do a ton of like the, you know, the agent slams and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, there's just so many different kinds of conferences. I think you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about like just try to find the one that fits what you're wanting to get out of it.
And I will tell you, for Utopia, like there are some publishers there, and there are some, you know, agents there, but it's much more like a general networking, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, it's really there are cover designers there, there are interior designers. There's not like an agent pitch slam like EJ was talking about, and those are things that are set up at other conferences, which is why, you know, it's important to do your research before you decide like, oh, I'm going to go to, because these things are all expensive. And I'm sure that there are people who like earn out, and I know that there are authors who get paid to go to these things, but most of the authors conferences and things, like, you're making an investment, a big investment one way or another. And I've seen some people break even, and I've, you know, broken even on like table fees, but not necessarily like plane fare. You know, like there's all sorts of ways that you can define what breaking even means to you. Like last year, I broke even, you know, I made more than I spent on my table and my books, and I was psyched. Like, to me, that was really cool. Like, I was happy to make the investment in the hotel and my plane fare because this was like, that part was for me. But I took a risk getting a table because I'd never had one before, and I didn't know if that was going to be kind of like a waste of money, but it wasn't. So I was really psyched.
There are so many different kinds of ways to invest in your professional development, and that's whether you're an author, you know, a CEO, whatever you are, a nurse, whatever you are in life. Like, if you want like a direct return on money as an indie author, like you should probably invest your money in like a BookBub ad or something. If you like, that's going to be a direct, like, you know, you're going to make your money back plus whatever. Conferences aren't necessarily that. Matter of fact, I mean, I've kind of watched people with this Utopia stuff, like kind of commenting here and there. I'd say the vast majority of the authors I've seen comment, like they don't make money, they lose money on this because, like you said, there's so many, like you got to pay for hotel rooms and plane tickets and all these different things. But there are, as Amy said about, you know, like the mentor that you found at the first one you went to, and like these are relationships, like you really truly in writing, like you cannot put a price on those. Like the relationships I formed in like face-to-face groups versus ones I formed online, like the ones that really stuck, it's way different. Like it's a way whole new level of like intimacy and stewardship and all these things that go into it. So I think the internet makes us complacent at times because the internet's so stupid powerful that like we feel like we can do anything from it. Like we can do these hangouts and do all this great stuff. But man, you cannot replicate face to face, like, you know, seeing somebody, looking them in the eye, you know, relating to them.
Having a beer with them.
Having a beer with them, seriously.
Yeah,
like, totally. There's so many things that like you just cannot get out of the internet, and so like, I feel like that's the value of something like this. It truly is.
And if I can piggyback on like the money thing, you know, because I'm sure that there are people out there that are like, man, I would love to go to a con. I would love to get the airfare and the hotel, but I just can't swing it. It's just not something in the budget. This is something that, you know, in July when the tickets went for sale, I purchased the ticket, and then I immediately, and this sounds kind of silly, but it's what I did, I just got a white, regular, number 10 envelope out and wrote Nashville, whatever, and every time I had extra cash, I just threw my extra cash in there. And now it's been almost a year, and I have enough cash in there to cover my hotel, my, any other expenses, that sort of thing, and I've just kind of made it happen for myself.
You
So,
paid attention to it, but
Yeah.
you didn't like you're not like going into debt for it. And that's the other thing that I would say. I would say like while these things are important, they are not important to do at like a discredit to yourself or your family.
Right.
Like if you need the money for other things, you can't go like, well, I'm going to go to Utopia and make $1 billion on my book, so we're all going to be okay. Like that's
Yeah.
probably not going to happen.
Well, and I also don't have the expectation that I will make money. Like, I know that this is an expense, I'm not really looking to make money off of I mean, I have a 2-day table. I hope to sell my books. That'd be great, just because, quite honestly, more so than having the money, I'd really just love I love my book, so I'd love to have it in readers' hands. That's more important to
Absolutely.
me. So that's where I'm looking as far as the money thing goes. I mean, yeah, if I make enough to cover a great dinner one night, great, that's awesome. But I've also planned ahead, not saying, well, I'm going to make all my money back, and so it's great.
Right.
I just,
Exactly, and that's where I'm coming from. Like, you have to be able to really look at your budget and look at your personal financial situation and decide whether this is an investment that you're comfortable making right now, just like every other part of your business. And if it's something that is stressful or something that, you know, is just be realistic and don't go putting crazy pressure on yourself because that's not what's going to help you get the most out of the experience. Like, I've heard of people that, go into things going like, I have to sell like 85 books in order to pay for this, and I'm damn well going to do it. And God bless you if you pull that off. I am so impressed. But to me, you know, I tend not to, I work pretty hard to not take on unnecessary stress and financial debt. And I, like to make sure that I can fit these things in the budget. And if I can't, that's like another good reason to look regionally. Maybe you'd like to go to Utopia, but you live in Utah and, flying to
Well,
Nashville is not possible. But there's something that maybe you can drive to,
right.
that's going to help
There are conferences in
everywhere.
every region of the country, like big conferences, like now, like because we're so global now, and
Exactly.
it's gotten so much easier, I think, expense-wise, to promote these things because of the internet that you can there are conferences sprouting up every year, new ones, and whatever else. I feel like that when you invest, like I said, you put that money out there into stuff like this. For me, honestly, this is a dry run for me to do local signings. Like, I've not even really done, like, at my local BX, which is the military grocery store, and there's always, like, an author sitting out front, like, doing stuff. And I haven't done, like, my local bookstore, indie bookstores, which there are a ton in Northern California. I haven't done any of those things. And so for me, I'm using this as, like, a dry run because I feel like probably if you really want to make money from signings, the local stuff is probably the way to go because if you're the local author, people are much more likely to buy from you if they don't know you, just because they're like, oh, we've got a celebrity author here, because it's kind of one of those things. Whereas I'm going to Utopia and I'm going to be one of like 1,000 authors still, and by far the least known. So I feel like this is, for me, I'm viewing this also as like a great practice run at just setting up and doing my own signings, like learning how to interact with people. And for me, it feels like a safe environment. Like, I don't feel threatened by there being so many other authors. I feel safe because,
Right.
you know what, they're not going to remember me. Like, if I screw up or I don't do this, like,
Right.
it's not going to be that huge of a deal. Whereas if I'm the only author sitting out in front of my Barnes & Noble, they're going to remember me. Like, they're going to know who I am or whatever. And so,
But you're not going to screw up no matter what because you're just not going to screw up. And there's nothing to screw up. Like, if you if you're a jerk, which you would never be, then yeah, I guess you could screw up.
oh, you don't know me.
I mean, if you sit on people's toes instead of giving them books that they want to buy, I suppose you could give them a bad experience.
So Kat online or on Twitter has been running down, like, what are the, like, must-have things when you go do a live event? She said, like, she's like, keep a cool bag, like an allergy, painkillers, meds, something like comfy shoes, wear comfy shoes, a flannel or a sweater for indoor events. So what would be in your, Amy, like somebody's gone to all these things, what's in your must, like, have bag that you would have at your side?
Some sort of like power bar and a bottle of water because so many times with these things, you just like are not able to eat. Like last year I was next to Crystal Wade and like all day we were like, oh my God, like we set up before breakfast. We never got breakfast. We have to get lunch. We never got lunch. And like at some point, Delphina Henley was my table partner, and Crystal was like right across the aisle. And Delphina looked at me. She's like, if you don't go get something to eat like right this second, I'm gonna stuff something down your throat because you look like you're about to fall down. And I did. I like ran away, and then I came back, and Crystal was like, we were supposed to go eat together. I'm like, I was ordered to go because I looked like I was about to fall down, so I went. So, you know, really paying attention to like having a snack if you think you're going to need it. And I totally agree about like some Motrin, and make sure you get coffee before you go to the first place on your own because it may not be there. And if that's an important part of your day, you're going to be pretty cranky without it. So coffee or caffeine of some kind would be in my bag. I would also, I'm laughing at you, EJ. I think that clothing is a big one. I think that that's something that obviously comes up a lot when you're talking about Utopia, because a lot of people are away from home for like 4 days. So not only do you have to like, you want to look professional, you want to look cute. In the case of this year's conference, it's a time travel theme, and that like leaves open a world of like costumes and steampunk, and there are people who there are authors who are going this year that have like Kat, like they go to a ton of events that they dress up for, and like they have like Starla Hutchin is like serious, like she goes to so many events. The girl's got like a closet of cosplay. You know, I think Shanda Hahn used to do cosplay, and I know Amy Lee Strickland also. Like, so these are people that like they're probably going to come with some outfits, and they're going to be decked. I don't do that, so I can't like. I'm not really able to put together like a steampunk outfit on the fly, and I probably wouldn't feel super comfortable in it. And that's the most important thing. Like, I think you want to dress for these things in a way that's going to let you stay comfortable all day, but that you're psyched to be taking pictures. Right? Isn't that what I said to you, Lindsay, the other day?
Yes.
You were like, what do I wear? And I was like, it's got to be comfortable enough that you'll be happy all day, but cute enough that you'll be psyched when you look back and see the pictures.
Absolutely, and that was great advice, and I've gone with it. I've kind of put my outfits together. I haven't started packing. I've gotten my toiletries and my little things together, and you know, all that sort of stuff. I hope that one of you guys knows how to iron. I'm looking at you, EJ, because you have...
Yeah, because you don't want to look at me. I don't even own an iron.
Well, I don't own an iron either. It's called my mother, who lives in my town.
Oh my God, my family used to own a dry cleaning business, like when I was a little girl. So that was our joke. Like, we never thought I would need it, and then they sold it by the time I had clothes that needed ironing.
Oh dang!
But I never learned.
I just have the mother that says, "What are you wearing?" So I tell her. Then she says, "Is it clean?" And I say yes, and she says, "Is it ironed?" And I just look at her, and she says, "Bring it over." So I mean, that's what I do. So
you know, there's this awesome spray.
I know, wrinkle release.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'll have to get one of those portable steamers. But anyway, yeah.
But I will say there's a skirt that I have that I was kind of thinking of wearing, and I've been like hanging it up in my closet all week because it's wrinkled, and I'm happy to take it to the cleaner, but I'm sort of testing to see, because it's going to get a little wrinkled on the way there. Even if I take it to the cleaner before I go, it's going to it's going to be bad. So I would, you know, and then you're like, okay, well, is it going to look really wrinkled after an entire day, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, I just have a couple things that'll need help. But anyway, the advice that you gave me about just being comfortable, and yeah, when you look back at pictures, are you going to be happy with what you have on? Are you going to feel like you're you? And with the things that I have in mind, I'm excited. So
we have some interesting stuff. So Kat, of course, is giving some fabulous. She does cosplay a lot, and so she's giving some really great. She's, of course, always remember if you're going to be sitting at a table, really only from the waist up is what's going to make the impression, because you're not going to be standing the whole time. Like,
see, I can't sit at
unless
tables.
you're doing the carnival barker thing. Amy, are you the carnival barker? You're like, come on, then. You're like standing, and grabbing people and grabbing.
I'm not necessarily standing and grabbing people. I'm just not very comfortable behind a table. Like, I feel like if I'm sitting, the events where I've sat behind a table, like, I literally have talked to no one except the person at my table. So it doesn't work for me. Like, I'm just not able to make that kind of connection the same way with people. I'm much happier standing.
Are you the cool kid? You're like propped on the corner of your table smoking. She's like, they're like, ma'am, you can't smoke in here. And Amy's like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's totally me.
Yeah, I figured. He's got like your flask. He's like, here, have a hit, Grandma.
But so I actually would listen to Kat's advice because she knows for herself, but I would also make sure you understand like who you are.
Well, I think what you said is like really great advice. Like, be comfortable. Like, so I see PK Rezo actually in Twitter tonight just said a while ago. She's like, conferences, like for her, they offer a great opportunity to be funky, like to do something fun and creative and be different. But I think depending upon your personality, I think some people, like we talked about, a lot of authors are introverts. Getting in costume is like their shield, like that's their buffer, and that allows them to put themselves out there, you know. And so if that's what it's going to take, then by God, all means, like dress up as a Time Lord or whatever, like
totally agree.
And like go out and sell your stuff, man. Like I agree, that's such a great advice. Like just whatever you're comfortable in, interacting with folks. I'm totally cheesing it, but I've got like these perfectly, because it's a baseball story, so I've got like their baseball shirts.
I was gonna say, I need you to have like an EJ baseball shirt.
I've got that on. I'm gonna wear my baseball hat because that's what you'll find me in 90% of the time. So
that's perfect. Well, and so you're gonna see people dressed as Time Lords, and you're gonna see people in like jeans and a T-shirt with their books on it. And I usually at these things wind up, especially like if I'm on a panel, I'm usually in skirts because they're pretty comfortable for me, more so than jeans. So like I'll wear just like a T-shirt and a little skirt or a little dress, but it's usually like only because it's the most comfortable thing I have. And jeans, I don't like to just sit around in all day. But if I was more comfortable in that, it would be fine too. So I think the key is what do you feel good in? Like you don't want to, if you're wearing a T-shirt and jeans because it's got your books on it, then that's awesome. But you don't want to just like not think about it and bring a ripped up T-shirt, because you're going to want to take pictures of people and you're going to want to feel like confident. So whatever that means to you is what is important.
Oh, and on Twitter, I'll draw everybody's attention to this. Becca at Beck_A_Tron at Beccatron. She just tweeted a nice little YouTube video about unpacking for a conference, even with costumes or whatever. So
smart.
I'm gonna retweet that. So check it out.
That's super cool. Yeah, and
PK says she loves the image of you smoking at your table.
It probably would make everything better. It just depends on what.
It'd be a very French thing for you to do. You do need to wear like a beret or something.
You'd never catch me with a regular cigarette. Let's just leave it there.
And like stockings, like you need to have like a schoolgirl skirt. Great.
EJ just missed that completely, but whatever.
I didn't hear it. I apologize.
That's okay. I think the other thing, and it's not just at at RT, like they have some serious like dress up situations, and if there is going to be, like, I went to RT not really understanding that there were going to be parties where people were like decked in costumes that went with a theme that they've been planning with friends for like a year. So again, that comes down to doing your research, because I'm sure I could have found out about that beforehand if I'd bothered to ask the question, although I'm not sure I would have asked the question, like, is there going to be any need for me to like come dressed like a mermaid at any point in the weekend? But the flip side of that was, I sort of was like, okay, well, I've got this kind of funkier outfit, and I'll wear this tonight, and I won't compare myself to the people that have been planning this for a year. But you want to know so that you can bring the right stuff. And Utopia has the award ceremony, and I know that that's kind of a question mark for a lot of people. And that's another place where you will see people in like evening gowns, and you will see people in sundresses.
I have a really pretty dress. It's a maxi dress. It'll look nice.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, like I had one year, like I had this. I wore it to the the Queen City IndieCon. Like I had this like long maxi dress that's like, it looks dressy in the cut, but it's like a T-shirt. And every time I wear it, people are like, "Oh, you're so dressy." I'm like, "It's a T-shirt." So that's kind of like perfect for stuff like that, where you want it to look dressy, especially in pictures, but maybe you don't want to be in like. But people are going to be, wearing, like, I think you could probably wear anything and fit in at this particular conference, but there are other places where they might be having, like, a black tie event, and you're going to want to know.
Yeah.
Which I think that plays into the whole theme of tonight, by the way. Like, Amy's been such a huge asset for this con. She went last year, so she, especially like being a newbie, is totally fresh on her mind, so she's given me some great tips and advice. Just reach out to people, like, everybody, I don't care what level you've been at in this, whether it's your first time or 50th time or it's your first time at a specific con, there's always somebody out there that's been, and everybody's been through it. Like, everybody's nervous about what they're going to wear and all this stuff. Find those resources. Like, reach out to communities like NA Lit Chat, and, on Facebook and all these different author groups. Find these people, ask questions, just put it out there. Like, I know, because, like, I have that fear. Like, I'm like, I don't want to be the rookie. Like, I don't want to be the one that puts this out there and be like, people laugh at me. I'm be like, should I wear a top hat and tails? Which would actually totally fit in this year.
That would be awesome.
You should. Are you kidding me? The
you need a monocle
yes.
for sure. But like,
if you had a monocle and my tux was like leather, then that'd be perfect.
I feel like this is one of those things where social media is so amazing, and it's all about getting into the right place, though, right? Because you look at the Utopia group on Facebook, and there's a group for people who are going, and hopefully, if you're going to the con, you're in it, and if you're not, ping me, and I'll put you in it. But like every time somebody asks a question, 5 people are like, oh, following, because I wanted to ask that too. And so, whatever you're wondering, there's somebody else wondering. But before we run out of time, I want to talk about like book stuff and professional stuff and swag and all those things, because I know that's been a big question that's come up. And what I'll say first of all is that, like, you don't need anything, if you're going as just an attendee, and whether you're published or not published, some business cards just so you can pass them around and have something to hand out is awesome. If you're published but you don't have a table or anything, like I was with S.J. Pajonas today, and she's coming to UtopiaCon. She just released, the 4th and final book in her series. She doesn't have a table, but she's got awesome postcards and bookmarks that she's bringing, and she has a few people that know she's going to be there and that want signed copies of her books, and so she's going to bring those and a few extras to have on hand. And today we were talking, like, you need like a bag. Like, you need a bag with your book cover on it so that people might be like, oh, I know that book. Oh my God, that's you? Because, you want some sort of physical way, if you're not going to be at a booth and you already have a book out, that people can figure that out and find you. So if you're not a t-shirt kind of a person, putting your image on like a bag or something fun, that can be enough to strike up a conversation or just to have something to point to. And it's amazing how many images and people circle through your feeds all day. And, it can be a really good conversation starter, but having something that represents you that's really easy is definitely something that I would recommend. And if you do have a table, again, you want to have some books, you want to have just postcards, Vistaprint and overnight prints and Got Print are 3 places that will still make you postcards if you want them before the con. Staples does same-day printing if you need them. And then you're going to see all manner of other things. People have banners that they get done at either Vistaprint or Staples, or there are places that have really fancy retractable banners, but that might not be what you want for your first time. And they look great, but they're not essential. There are people that have tons of free stuff to give away. I just got these really cute cell phone holder things that go on the back of your cell phone, and they hold a couple credit cards and your room key, and they're just something fun. And there's going to be people that have 10 different swag items, and there are going to be people that have none.
Yeah, the people that hand make all their swag.
It's amazing. Casey Bond, oh my God.
Yeah, Casey Bond, she's intense.
PK has some of her pictures.
Yeah,
I know.
PK does her own pixie doll thing, but that's
Those
a
are
whole other
beautiful.
side venture. Yeah, those are so cool.
That really is.
But people are making necklaces and chokers and.
And I think that that's awesome, and I think it's such a great way to show off. But I mean, I've yet to find somebody that actually bought a book based on a necklace.
Right.
I think
that's
great.
fun stuff. If you've got readers, established readers, and
yeah,
they're gonna love that stuff.
I call them artifacts.
If I brought stuff like that, I would totally be the Napoleon Dynamite girl. I'd be like, I've got these boondoggles. I would have
it's
a tray of
fashions.
I'd be like, I've been braiding these in my free time.
But,
So can I tell you guys what I'm doing, because it's a little bit different?
yes.
Okay, so I kind of racked my brains as to what kind of swag I want to do, because I am mindful of the fact that a lot of people do pitch, as in throw away the swag. They go through, they get the tables, and then I think I would be a little heartbroken if I left and looked at the trash can and like all, my hundreds of dollars in hard-earned, especially if I handmade some of the swag, was like in the trash can, I'd be like, really? So
I don't know that people throw away the handmade stuff. I think that,
right. But you know what I'm saying. So
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, so I kind of wrecked my brains and was like, well, what am I going to do? And also because I'm a newbie, I wanted something a little bit more eye-catching. So I have a banner with my titles and everything on it, and then I actually stole an idea from EJ and got a front of the table banner. But I have shoes on my covers. And so I'm actually going to do a shoe giveaway.
Nice.
And it's going to be a Utopia / hybrid of social media promotional thing that during, and it's all on postcards. So I'm just giving away postcards. I'm not giving away anything else. But it's all on the back that during Utopia, if you're at the conference or not, if you purchase my book and just tag me on, Facebook or Twitter or whatever I have a hashtag and with a selfie of your purchase, whether it's the book or just like the confirmation page if you bought online because you can't make it to Utopia, you'll be in the running, and I'm going to randomly give away a few gift certificates for an online shoe company, so you can actually win a free pair of shoes.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because, what girl and guy, honestly, doesn't want a free pair of shoes? And I just thought that would be kind of something different that's also can really do across, social media promotional thing.
Totally.
So,
I love that. Yeah.
And there's a kissing booth. I may have just made that up, but Lindsay, for like a quarter, like you just go up to Lindsay and give her a quarter, she will kiss you.
Or for free. I mean, if you catch me in the right mood, I'm very.
Wait, now you're just being easy now. Like this.
Right. I'm just gonna say I'm very huggy, kissy. I do love that. So catch me in a great moment, and you never know. I might fuck her up for you, or a quarter, maybe $5. I am a lady after all, so maybe I should up the price.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
And the hashtag LK Lewis is awesome.
Lindsay ups the price.
Hashtag LK Lewis is awesome. You've got yourself a free kiss.
There you go.
But I think the most important thing to keep in mind also is like you want to keep it cute, you want to keep it catchy, and you want to keep it easy, because the worst case scenario is you're standing around with all the stuff that you spent all this money on, and nobody's really like taking it or talking to you about it, and it's not like a point of it's not a conversation starter. It's just like hanging out alone on the table, and so are you. The best case scenario is that you're swamped with people, and you had all these grand plans for like assembling these really cool things and showing them to people and explaining them to people, and you're just like shoving them at them and sending them away with no explanation, and then you're like super cool but sort of vague, like I don't know, like tiny little point of information from like your fourth book is not as impactful as you might have wanted it to be. So, and again, just remember, like, it's not worth blowing your budget, it's not worth going into debt, and the people who really want to read your books are not going to make their decision of whether they want to read them or not because you've handed them a bracelet with the name of the book on it.
Right. Yeah, and with my front of the table banner, it says, like, ask me how to win free books or something like that, and it's really cute. So that's kind of, I thought if anything, that might have people come and meet me.
Totally.
People. That's one of my big reasons for coming is networking. So if that just entices people to come and so I can like shake your hand and meet you face to face and all that stuff, I'm all for it. So I just thought that'd be kind of cool.
That's pretty cool. And you know what else you can do, which is fun, like, and I do this a lot at cons, and this is another thing that I recommend. It's one of those like pay it forward things, but it gives you like something to talk about. And I like to, ask people, like, they might walk up and they might not be interested in your book, or you might not have anything to say about them, but I'll sort of be like, what do you like to read? Because it might not be my book. It might be, it might be Misty Provencher's book, and I might know she's across the room, or maybe somebody's looking for, like, a really good college series, and I'm going to recommend, Cambria Herbert, or somebody like, there's so many people in that room, and there's so many different kinds of books, and it's so easy to have a conversation. I had a girl that came up to me at, I don't even remember what the event was. It was in New York last year. But we were just like talking, and I asked her what she liked to read, and she came back and bought a book. She's like, I had to read your book because you're so nice. Now that's kind of ridiculous. Like, it doesn't really happen that way most of the time.
Right.
That's not why I was so nice. But the truth of the matter was, she didn't know me. She
Right.
wasn't necessarily interested in my books, and we wouldn't have talked otherwise. And if you're really just there to like meet people, it's a great way to pay it forward, to like talk about the other authors that are there, and it's still about making connections. You just never know when like that person, even if they don't buy your book, maybe they buy you a drink.
Right. Well, and I feel like so we talk about rules of social media a lot. Like, we've had that discussion on NA Lit Chat a bunch over the years. Is the hard sell doesn't always work. So like, really the best policy for your social media in general is to just be you. Like, let some facet of your real personality come through. Don't just be 100% about buy my book. Like, be aware that these are people. Like, these are people. These are readers. We're readers. And like you said, maybe they're not into whatever you write, but they'll be into something that down the way. Like, it is about establishing those relationships and stuff. Because like, even like, I've had so many book bloggers help me out with stuff that like maybe they weren't into my particular type of storytelling. Maybe they were like really hardcore romance readers, and my stories aren't that. They still help me out because I made connections. Like, they like me. Like, I did that. I made a genuine connection with them, and so I think that's so important. Like, you can't just look at it one way as like a book sold is the only way you have success at these things.
Right, and that's what I would say. Like, we're gonna wrap up, and I saw a question come through about how RWA and Utopia are different, and I've never been to RWA. I've only been to RT, but Utopia is a smaller conference for sure, and it's multi-genre. It's a lot of romance because it's a lot of women, but I'm happy to answer that question specifically if anybody wants more information. But again, to me, it goes down to like, this is not necessarily about finding an agent or a publisher. This is about learning about the business and making connections and coming away inspired. For this particular con, in RWA, there's tons of agents. It's more like the business, the publishing, business, and the romance book business specifically, especially this year because it's in New York. So that's the short answer. But the long answer is that Utopia, you never know who you're going to sit next to, or who they are, and how they might be important in your life. And I think that the best way to go to any conference and like any day in your life, really, but specifically Utopia, is to just know that like, you never know who you're sitting next to, who they are, what you can offer them, what they might have to offer you. Like, just talking to that one person who might be quiet in the room can make their whole day and yours. Like, whatever it is you think you're going through, however shy or scared you are at these things, somebody else is feeling it too. And maybe you wouldn't feel okay like walking up to somebody and saying hi to be like confident and bold. But I bet you might feel okay talking to somebody because they looked like they were feeling shy and had a hard time talking to people, and you were sort of lifting them up. And when you come at it from that perspective, like, all of a sudden you're surrounded by 25 people you just struck up a conversation with because they looked like they needed a smile. And then suddenly you have friends and people to talk to and people to hang out with. And lo and behold, like, two of them are probably huge writers with tons of experiences to share with you. One of them might be a blogger who doesn't really talk to people in person, but who has a big following online. One of them might be somebody with like one Twitter follower, but they're like your new best friend and they're totally helpful.
Like,
so
might be your beta reader for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or whatever.
And you just never know. So if you kind of go into it with like, everybody here is important, and I'm going to meet as many as I can, and even if I'm feeling shy, there's somebody who's feeling shyer than me, and I'm going to try to help them out, I feel like you win.
Yeah.
But some of us are clearly more important than others. Let's just establish it right now.
Okay, yes.
You'll see the hordes of people surrounding me like mosquitoes.
I'm going to beat them all up.
You're gonna be like,
first.
Immediately, you're going to be like, I don't know who that guy is, but he's a big deal.
I'm just really excited because I was told that I'm going to be, my table's going to be next to PK. So I'm like, yeah, I get to be next to PK.
Are you serious? I'm going to be the only guy that's lone wolfing it over here, like on my own.
Well, they put out the tables. I would also recommend for anybody going to Utopia, the website's awesome. Look through it, hang out with it. We actually interviewed Janet a couple times about the cons. And last year we did a couple things about how to prepare for cons. So we'll try to share those links as well. we'll dig up those old chats because they could be helpful. But just don't stress. Just go expecting to have a really good time, and just kind of be whatever you're comfortable being. Like, be the best version of that. It doesn't mean be like somebody else.
And please, whoever is going, find me. Come and say hello. Do not be too shy to come and say hello. I love meeting new people. So if any of you are going to be there, seek me out. I'll have a table both days, and I'd love to meet you. And maybe have a cocktail later.
Don't look me up.
And
You'll be sorely disappointed.
Oh, stop.
I would definitely say the same thing. Please come and find me, although I will warn you that if you wind up sitting next to me during the awards or the keynote or a panel, you might wind up crying. I don't know why this happens.
Are you good luck or bad luck? I want to know.
I think I'm both. But like last year, I think Megan Vernon made a huge impact on my panel, and I think it made her a little emotional. She dug really deep and came up with some awesome wisdom that I'm not sure she was expecting to share. And I was sitting next to Crystal, and I think it was Jennifer Albin had this amazing, or Sylvia Day had this amazing keynote, and Crystal just looks at me, she's like, why am I crying? I'm like, it's Utopia, it's really moving, it's all the feels. And she's like, okay. And I was like sitting next to Rachel Harris at the awards, and I think it was Amanda Jason, aka Carol Coombs, was like accepting her award, and Rachel looks at me, she's like, why am I crying? I'm like, it's Utopia, it's all the feels. So yes, bring your tissues. Doing plenty of room to laugh and have a good time.
I'll be the guy fanning. I'll be fanning myself.
Totally. I'm not crying. I'm growing whiskers, and it's painful.
There you go.
But yeah,
Simcoe's gonna have so much fun with it.
Yes. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions that we didn't answer tonight, definitely hit me up, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and I'm happy to answer anything. I know Janet is also happy to answer any of the people that have been there before. Like, we're all happy to make it as easy as possible for you to come feeling comfortable and excited.
Cool. Sounds like a plan.
Did that help, guys? Did that help? Hopefully it helped.
Yes. You know what? I think that I'm now remembering that I have to pack my chargers, so there's that. I learned. There's that. And you are more prepared than you think you are, and you're going to be fine. Yay! And my books shipped today, by the way.
Woo!
Last minute Linz strikes again, and my books for Utopia shipped from CreateSpace. So everyone say a lovely little prayer or juju or whatever you do. Send it my way that my books will arrive in time.
They're going to be fine. It's all going to
work out. And another shout out to D.A. Bada for making that possible, because he came through with that for me. Thanks, buddy.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you to everybody in Twitter who's been sharing ideas and tips and questions. And thank you to Chris Fox and St. Bende and Alicia Kat-Vansel, who've been in Twitter sharing their own experiences and making sure that you guys could share yours. Thank you, EJ, for suggesting this to begin with, because I think hopefully it was good. We would have had this conversation anyway. So maybe it probably would have gone on for longer.
Right?
I'm sure. And me weeping and drinking, yeah. Things I can't do live on air. Well, I say I can. I might have done.
And thank you, Lindsay, for being the alternate voice, because we realized that, EJ was not going to talk to me about dresses necessarily.
Yeah. Anytime. It's my pleasure.
Yes. We thought it would be awesome having questions from both of you guys. And I'm Amy Evans, and this is NA Lit Chat, and we're very excited to talk about Utopia and Writers' Cons and all the other things that surround our publishing world for new adult literature. Until next time, we'll see you guys soon. Have a great night.